Hi guys, it's Chris with City Girl Homestead, and it's time for Thankful Thursday. So, I've been trying to think about what to talk about today, and with last week's discussion about fear, I kind of wanted to talk about prepping, and I don't want you to prep out of fear. Do I think things are going to get rough? Yes, I do. Am I a doomsday prepper? No, I'm not. Do I have a lot prepped up? Yes, I do. I have a grocery store, basically, but it's because I worry about, my family, my children, my grandchildren, and they don't prep. So, you think about if times got tough, how would they eat? I'm not ready to see any of them starve if something did happen. So, that's what I kind of want to talk about today. So I found a verse that I liked, and this is what it is. It's 1 Timothy 5:8. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. I'm a firm believer in you need to provide for your family. Whether it was when I was a single mom, now that I'm married, it doesn't matter. That's our job, is to provide for our family. And Tom has taken a lot of that burden off of me. But it's still there because people just, I don't know how they make it on one income anymore. I don't. So let's take it to prayer, and then we're going to make something that's semi-healthy, and then we'll talk more about it. Heavenly Father, thank you for each and every person that's here, that's part of our community, those that aren't, the ones that just pop in to check it out. Be with all of them. Lift them up. Help them with any of the problems that they have. I know a lot of people right now are financially strapped, and I understand that completely. And be with them. Help them to figure out ways in which they can make it. I pray for anyone that's having issues with their health. I know that we're not supposed to be fearful, but I also believe that we need to be prepared. And if you can talk to their hearts and help them to become prepared, even if they're broke, I ask that you guide us to the ways in which we are supposed to take, the path in which you want us to take. I ask all of these in Jesus' name. Amen. I know my prayer wasn't very long, was it? But sometimes it's just like that. All right. So we're going to make applesauce cake, but it's not going to be like one of those that's got, well, it's got tons of ingredients, but it's not going to be as full of sugar and stuff like that that, is not as good for you. No cake is good for you, by the way. Just saying. And I tell you guys, I have been craving a candy bar so bad. Ugh. I used to have candy bars just about every day, and I haven't had one in, 4 or 5 weeks? I'm telling you guys, I miss it so bad. It's disgusting. All right. So we're going to start out with a 1/2 cup of water. And then we need a 1/2 cup of unsweetened applesauce. I should have grabbed a spoon. 1 second, guys. I thought I was prepared, and I'm not. Go figure. That's kind of par for the course for me. All right, so we want a 1/2 cup of applesauce. And then if you don't want to add any oil to it, then it says to use an additional 3 tablespoons of applesauce instead of adding any oil. And we're going to do that. I'm not the biggest of applesauce fans, but I've got a ton of it. So I thought, you know what, let's figure out a way to get some of it used up. And then we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And we need a tablespoon of either white or cider vinegar. And I had my cider vinegar in the fridge, so I figured we'll use that. Tablespoon of that. Now we're going to get that all mixed together. I know when I seen vinegar in there, I'm like, ew, ew, that doesn't sound good. All right, now we need a cup and a half of, it says spelt or white, so I'm sure you can use whatever flour you want. I have plain white flour, which I need Tom to bring me up some more because this is almost getting empty. So we need a cup and a half of that. You could use oat flour, you could use anything that you want. So there's a cup. Next and a half. Of flour. And then it says a third cup of sugar. And it says you can use unrefined, anything that you desire. I gotta fill this back up too. The third cup of sugar. I know I'm a mess here. I'm a mess. And then we need 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So that's a half. And we need 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. And also of baking soda. I know, right? And then we need a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And we need, which is optional, I'm also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. I don't mind allspice, so I'm going to add it. I'd rather do allspice better than cloves or any of that crap. Ugh. I don't like any of that. Oops, must be my water drained out. My plug is not holding stuff in for some reason. That's going together pretty easy. I always hear about how you can substitute applesauce for a lot of different things, for oil and stuff, but I've never tried it. So I guess there's a first time for everything, right? Now, it also says you can either add raisins or walnuts or whatever there is that you want to add to it. I'm going to add a little bit of walnuts to it. Well, I do have my oven preheating at 350. I like raisins, not very often, but Tom doesn't really like them at all. He'll eat them, but he's weird. There's a lot of different little quirky things he doesn't like. But that's alright. And he'll normally eat it. Like, he hates marshmallows. But if I make something with marshmallows in it, he'll eat it. He doesn't like coconut either. And I love coconut, so it's kind of strange for me. Alrighty. Alright. I'm going to add those to it too. And let's get that stirred in there. Isn't that a beautiful color? Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Alright, now we're going to put it in an 8x8 pan. So I guess that you don't have to add so much sugar. That's probably what makes it healthier, right? Alright. Then it bakes for 18 minutes, it says, at 350. So let me clean up my mess a little bit, and then we're going to get to chatting. Alright, so I'm back. I just hate when it's cluttery like that. Not that my house is spotless, because it's far from it, but when I'm like in my little work area, I can't stand dirty dishes and stuff. It's a pet peeve of mine. So, dirty dishes and dirty laundry. Anyways, so prepping. You know, years ago when like Meijer would have a sale for, you know, back then they were 25 cents a can for, you know, green beans, corn, peas, whatever. I used to stock up on those. I'd buy 2 cases of each. And then by the end of the year, I had used them up. And then fall came around and I'd buy more. With kids, I always made sure I had at least one extra, you know, shampoo and conditioner. And, you know, back then we used soap, not body wash. And, you know, things like laundry soap, whatever, I'd keep one ahead. I did the same thing with toilet paper. Well, then Tom's like, why do you need to do that? So then we had an issue come, you know, during COVID, and I had to drive 20 miles one way to go get a package of toilet paper because we were down to 2 rolls. So he doesn't say anything to me anymore about that. We have a full case downstairs. We're good. Anyway, so, you know, prepping, we've kind of talked about it before, but I honestly believe that, you know, you should have enough. I heard on a video the other day, 3 days. Start with 3 days. And I agree with that. Start with 3 days. Because, you know, most of your ice storms, you know, we get tornadoes here. We definitely get ice storms. Stuff like that. Usually they have everything cleared up within 3 days. So if you cannot get out, you can at least eat for 3 days. And then, you know, go from that to a week. From that to 2 weeks. From that to 3 weeks. I'm hoping that we have enough for a year. You know, in these times, and again, don't do it out of fear. Don't just stock stuff because, you know, like I have a lot of rice. And I'm not a rice fan. But like I told Tom, I said rice becomes a good traded commodity. So I have some that's packaged up in 1 and 2 cups and 4 cups that I could trade with somebody. But if you add something to it, we can eat it. It's fine. We're not that person that you just sit there and you know, here, eat that rice. No, that's not us. But, so don't stock up a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't eat. So rice, that's the reason that I did that, because it is a tradable thing. And I will eat it. It's not like I hate it. I just am not a fan of it. Now fried rice, stuff like that, yeah, all day. But anyways, so stock up things that you know that your family will eat. You know, like we did that 5 for $5 thing, or $5, whatever it was last year. You know, even if you can only buy $5 worth. You know what? If you're that broke, and believe me, I know that feeling right now very well. If you can only buy a can of corn every week, before you know it, your pantry will be full. A lot of the food pantries and stuff right now, I mean, I'm not sure. It's been a while since I took Jack to one, but usually this time of year, they start handing out fresh vegetables. A lot of the drive-thrus, and I know in the state of Michigan here, they cannot ask you your income, anything. They just have to give you the food. So even though they cover a few counties like Ingham, Eaton, Gratiot, I don't know, a whole bunch of them here, all the way up to Clare, I think. If somebody comes from the UP and wants to come down here and get food, they can't turn them away. And so I think most of the drive-thrus are like that. So if you really do need help, you know, I don't think you should use it to stock up your pantry, but if you really need help, please go get it. And if you do get fresh veggies and, you know, you don't know how, let's say you don't can, and you don't know how to preserve them, you know what, email me or put it in the comments below and, you know, hey, I got a bunch of this, what can I do to preserve it? Because people think that you have to have all this special equipment, and you don't. Now, a pressure canner, you got to have that if you want to do meats and certain vegetables and stuff like that. You have to have a pressure canner. There are people that don't pressure can those things, and they go for hours and hours. I do not do that. Somebody said something about canning with rice. That's a choice that I made, and I've been doing it for almost 4 years now, and my family loves it. To water bath meat and stuff, I wouldn't do it. I know that girl on Make It Make, she does. I just don't feel comfortable. But you know, you can dehydrate your food several different ways. You can use, like my stove has a dehydrate button on it. You can put it on the lowest, crack your door, and you can dehydrate in your oven. You can dehydrate outside. Some things you can hang up to dehydrate. You can, you know, freeze your stuff. Some things you have to, you know, pre-boil first, and then you can freeze it. If you get those extra things, you know, in the summer, don't let them go to waste. Preserve them somehow. And we think about prepping as just food, but over-the-counter drugs, you know, like Tylenol, I don't know. I'm really bad on that thing. I've got a first aid kit. But I do have, like, during COVID, I kind of got freaked out a little bit, and so I took $100 and I went to the Dollar Tree, and before they went to $1.25, and I bought a bunch of shampoo, conditioner, body wash, stuff like that, and I have it in a crate downstairs. And so if anything happens, or if I don't have money that week to buy shampoo and conditioner, we can go down there and get it. So I guess the thing is, you know, make sure you rotate. You know what I mean? Keep rotating your stuff. But the prepping isn't just for the world's coming to an end. Sometimes it's loss of job. Maybe you've lost overtime. Maybe, you know, a car repair or a house repair or whatever. And they all say that we're a paycheck away from being homeless. I'm not quite that close to it. But Tom losing the overtime really put a huge dent in our budget. Huge dent. And so I do understand, you know, what a lot of people are going through right now. Better than you think. But, you know, but when you stock up like that, and let's say there is a bad month that you can't, you know, groceries is just out of the question, but you still want to feed your family. If you have a stockpile of stuff, or if you have extra toilet paper, shampoo, conditioner, any of that stuff, then you have enough that you can probably get through the month to pay for that car repair or the house repair or whatever happens to be. Unless it's something major. Which we pray that doesn't happen. But what I do actually is, so like, I do have a, you know, a stock of flour and sugar. Not a lot. I mean, it's not a lot. Maybe 30 or 40 pounds, if that, on some of it. But, like with my, I was trying to think of what I was thinking. Oh, my honey and my maple syrup. So when I open up one, then I buy another one. So I always have a backup. My garlic, I do the same thing. And Tom's like, you know, I like that you do that, because then I go in there and I know it's there. And that's true. So things like that, I always try to keep, you know, a backup to. Dish soap. You know, when I get into, I buy it by the big bottle. And when I get into that and about halfway down, I make sure I have another bottle to, you know, back me up. Things like that that, you know, you can do. But if you're really, really broke, I mean, just one can. One can. You know, if you find like how at our store, at the Horrocks, they have where you can buy that great big bag of green beans, or bad experience with that one, but the, you know, peppers, or, you know, I seen they had a bag of probably 30 bananas the other day. Now, if I would have had room in my freezer, I would have bought them and froze them, but I didn't have that much room. And it was like $2 for all of them, or $2.99, something like that. So if you have, you know, a lot of times, actually, those, you know, your markets that you go to, farm markets, if it's towards the end of the day and there's things that they don't want to take back, then they'll sell it cheaper. I've heard that food auctions, I only know of one so far, and that's the one up north, and they sell mostly to stores. But, you know, at the end of the day, those farmers don't want to take all that stuff home, and they'll sell it pretty cheap. So there are ways in which we can get food less expensive, and we can preserve it for ourselves. And if you don't can and you want to learn how to can something, I've canned certain things just for people so they could learn, and I'm willing to do that. Now, I know somebody wants me to can the burrito in a jar again, but I have like 6 or 7 jars downstairs right now, so I really don't need to can it, and I don't want to use that much stuff when I'm not going to can right away. Now, I probably will can it again for Christmas, because even Courtney's mom likes it. Everybody likes it. So I'll probably do 2 jars apiece for the family. Let me check my cake. Ooh, guys, it looks so good. It looks so good. No, it's not done. Okay, stop. All right. I'll check it in a couple minutes. So, last week talking about fear, I want you to know that no matter what happens, don't be fearful of it. If you believe in God, in the end, He wins. You know, I keep thinking, I tell Tom, I go, do you think this person will actually get elected? I'm scared about it, you know. I'm not really scared. Well, in a way, I am. I'm not going to express who I think that of, but anyways, you know, and I worry about, you know, my children and grandchildren's future, especially my grandkids, because I want them to experience the freedoms in which we've had. So, I don't want you to be fearful, but, you know, like there's one girl that she's talking right now that the closer we get to election, that things are going to get really bad, and, you know, there's going to be all these fighting and things. She lives out in the country. I don't think she'll have that much of a problem. I live in the city. When we had the BLM riots, I could hear the glass breaking. We're only about, I don't think quite a mile to the Capitol. And I could see the smoke. I could hear the glass breaking. I could hear everything. And it was pretty scary. So if you live in the city, it might be a little bit more, might be a little bit more scary. We had BLM come down our road, and they didn't like the flag I had. Yeah, that was pretty scary. But anyways, so, you know, I don't want you to be fearful. I don't want you to do things because you feel like, if I don't do this, my family's going to starve. No. I've heard some people say that we're going to go into a depression worse than the 20s. And if that's the case, I guess it really doesn't matter how much you stock up. You're going to get hungry. You know, like, even if you have to do just herbs and spices, I know it's getting late in the season, but You know, there's so many things that you can grow in the house now. You know what I mean? They got lights for everything. That you could grow your stuff year round. But in the spring, you know, even if you live in an apartment, you can have something out on your patio or whatever. You know, plant something. You know, that's what made everybody kind of survive during the Depression, was they had what they called victory gardens. And I was on a channel a couple of years ago because I was planting in boxes and everything else. And, you know, everybody can do that. And then, like, let's say I have tons of tomatoes. I've got tons to cut up today. I'm going to make some tomato sauce before I can any more tomatoes. So I'm just cutting them up, getting them ready to cook. But, and someone has a lot of green beans, or someone has carrots, or whatever it happens to be. And then as neighbors, you trade them back and forth. And that way you can help each other survive. That one older lady that always did like the real cheap meals because she lived during the Depression. I can't think of her name. But that's what she had, was, you know, her own little garden too when she was younger. But you don't have to go out and spend, you know, thousands or hundreds of dollars even to start prepping. You can start out with a 62-cent can of peas. And it will build up. And just don't fear. I'm hoping that if times get really bad again, that we as a nation will come together like we have in the past and help take care of each other. I hope that we haven't went too far that we can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? I hope I didn't go too far, but I just thought of, you know, because of doing what we did last week with no fear, and then, you know, still people talking about all that stuff, it's hard not to get a little fear in you. But I wanted to set your mind at ease that, you know what, no matter what, we'll be fine. You know, we made it through COVID. You know, some people made it through the 100-year one forever ago. We've made it through swine flu. You know, now they got bird flu and whatever else. But we're survivors. Whether you live in this country or you live in Canada or another country, we're survivors. All of us are. That's human nature. And, you know, if you can prep up for even that 3 days and you have a snowstorm or something, you don't have to leave the house, imagine how great that will be. And if you do get enough stuff stocked up and someone needs a little bit of help, maybe you can be that help. So, I hope I didn't go off on a tangent too much, and I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer because I don't like being a Debbie Downer. Anyway, I'm going to let that cake finish and let it cool down, and I will show you what I'm going to do to finish it. Alright, so let's finish this cake up. So I bought just some cream cheese frosting. And you don't have to use the whole thing. It's only an 8x8, so you can put whatever you have left in the refrigerator and use it later. And I know this doesn't make it very healthy, but that's okay. I just finished cleaning up a full 2-gallon container of tomatoes, just chopping them up, not dicing them, just chopping them so I can make some tomato sauce. And a half of that again, and I got a gallon in the freezer and a quart in the freezer. Plus I have 7 quarts of tomato juice that I canned last year that I'm going to turn into, because I just got tomatoed out. So I made it into tomato juice, and I figured I'd add it to this year's and then cook it down and make tomato sauce. And then I'll go back to canning tomatoes. But boy, I'll tell you, they're picking up quick. Alright, so here we go. Our applesauce cake. Let me try just a little tiny bite. You know, it actually kind of reminds me of a spice cake. It's pretty good. All right. So, thank you for being with me today. Hopefully I wasn't a Debbie Downer or, you know, too off track or whatever. As I tend to do that. You guys know that. But thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys more than you know. I love you more than you know. You have a blessed day. Be a blessing. And I love you guys.